Welcome everyone to Posh podcast. I am here with my beautiful co-hosts, my daughter Marcella.
Hello.
And with Lee, my son's girlfriend, who is eating her candy that she loves more than anything. You always find her with candy in her purse and everything. And we welcome back beautiful Katy Hobby, Marcella's best friend.
So happy to be here.
Who came to visit us from San Diego. And thank you for taking the time out to come to our little show.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone needs to listen to episode 50, where Katy shares her very traumatic experience where she was in the car where someone got killed. You really need to listen. That was a gripping, unbelievable episode. And she's tough and strong, though. And I don't know why. I mean, we have so many things to talk to you about. But when we were sitting last night, it just seemed so right that we would dedicate this show.
Are you crying? Oh, no. That came out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, you never cry.
I think it's
I'm going to do it.
It was like a child for her.
Mm-hmm.
To our sweet friend, Keith Moses, who passed away last year and was so close to the both of you and us as a family. So I'm sorry, I'm going to make this through this.
You never cry.
I know.
I think this one's gonna
This
one's gonna like hit home for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, he was very much a part of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it hasn't ever felt right. Like, we have talked about it, doing it before, and it's like, no, like, we'll wait. We didn't want it to be too hard for his mom, and stuff like that. And then last night when we were all sitting together, it just seemed so right because you're in town, and I felt like we had to dedicate a show to him. So we're going to do this today, and I really wanted to talk about Katy's like Black Widow thing, but we're going to do this another time.
I did not widow Keith. Just so everyone knows. Keith widowed me.
Keith was the real Black Widow.
He really was. We had a lot in common.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Keith Moses. Keith Moses passed away on August 10th, 2017 at age, how old was he? I could not remember.
30.
I think he was 34, 35, because I believe he was 1 or 2 years older than I am, and I'm 33.
Yeah. So one of those.
Like, his 1 year anniversary of his death is right around the corner, and well, I think I'm still in disbelief, and many people around this town really struggle with what happened. And so I think we decided to talk about some of our favorite moments with him, and a lot of those are super funny, so I'm not going to be crying a whole lot longer, I don't think.
No, we'll have you laughing here any minute.
Yeah. And he was kind of like a well-known fixture in Dallas, and everybody's
not a
king, not a
king,
crown
but
on his
accepted by
neck.
everybody somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
He was everybody's best friend. That's what I really, when you think about Keith, that's what you think about. He was charismatic beyond any words, truly. I mean, he could come in a room and just
charming.
so charming. All the girls loved him. All the girls loved him.
He broke
which
every single heart.
Every
friend,
heart.
Mine, every friend I have.
Mine.
But no one is mad at him ever.
No.
They all loved him still.
And we'll talk about
And we'll
later.
get to that. Yeah.
We talked about it this morning, like why that.
We
So-
talk about Keith a lot.
Yeah.
It made him a bit of a womanizer, and that it was mind-boggling how, like, sometimes there are pictures of every single girl he was with, and they all love each other. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's mind-boggling. And I've also come across a lot of people that still today, after he's gone, go, oh my gosh, I used to have the biggest crush on him. Like, that's still being said. And he also had the unique ability to make you think that he was your best friend even if you just met him. Like, that was something that he knew how to do. And if you just knew him for a couple of weeks, people actually, we have experienced this a lot, I think, in the last year. All of us that come across some people that didn't know him long at all, but they feel very connected to him and think special of him. And I think I want to start with, how did you meet Keith, girls? I think Marcella needs to go first because you met him before Katy, correct?
I was dancing for the Mavs at the time. And when we were dancing for Mavs, we would always go to Primo's after, and then Republic. So it was like the every Mavs game, like, ritual. So you would go to Primo's and everybody would walk across. It was like in Dallas at the time too. It was like every day was like a different club, I guess. Like Monday was here, Tuesday was here.
Primo's. Wasn't Tuesday Republic?
Yeah, so Tuesdays was Republic night, and I was with Mavs dancer friends, and we were at Primo's and walked to Republic, and I actually was like really hyper, go figure, and dancing around. And I like, because in Primo's you had to walk out like a door to go outside or back inside, because it was like a patio, but really, really big. So it was like part of the club, and the bathroom was out there. So I remember like kind of running and pushing like back in, and literally like ran into Keith, like crashed, like drink all over me. And I was like,
Did you ever know him before?
No. I was like, what the fuck?
I didn't know this.
Oh yeah.
I
So
don't
was
think I
like,
knew this.
Hi. And I was with Mallory. I mean, I was only with Mavs girls. I did not know any Dallas people.
Keith would
Oh,
run
wow.
smack dab into the
right?
most beautiful Mavericks dancer.
I know.
I was like, what?
Typical Keith.
And
You
I
probably
think-
planned it.
Yeah,
Probably.
And I was like, oh my God. Like of course, my personality is like, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh my gosh. She was like, no, I'm sorry. So we went to the bar, and he was like, well, let me buy you another drink.
Shocking.
Shocking. I'm all of 19. So it's kind of, I mean, as Mavs dancers, we didn't get carded anywhere. So you're kind of like, do whatever you want. And I guess we exchanged numbers. Like it was just that day, and texted for a little bit, I think. And then I met Mark Suter. We went to lunch. Like I didn't really, I mean, obviously Keith is extremely charming and was probably one of the most gorgeous guys like in Dallas for a very, very long time. And girls would just like fall over. So you're like, oh,
It was the
my
whole
God.
combination.
Yeah, it was his personality and just everything about him. And so then we started dating. I fell like madly in love with Keith. I was coming off of an abusive relationship and then into another one, and he was so sweet and so charming and so like he is with every girl, and makes you feel like you're like the only one in the room, and like be like, look at my girlfriend, like whatever, we're going to the lake. And that is how I met everyone though. Like through Keith, I met Beth, I met Dee Dee, because at the time Keith was living with Dee Dee Johnson. I met Mark Suter. I met
Misty, right?
Misty, but not until a little bit later because she was with JR. I met JR. Valerie and Beth were really like my first girlfriends, and we all connected really quickly. I met Beth on the lake. She was dating Billy at the time. And I really just kind of got thrown into the scene with Keith. And then we didn't stay together very long. I think it's like the
3 months, maybe?
I think it's like the 3 to 4 month. And the fourth month when I'm like, because he's the one who starts the aggressive, like in love. You fall in love. And then when you're madly in love, he does what he always does. And being the best boyfriend ever, he calls you and he's like, I just don't think I can be a very good boyfriend because I'm going to cheat. And you're like, oh, well, thanks. I appreciate the honesty. And to be honest, I was devastated. Like, I was heartbroken. And Valerie and Keith were best friends at the time. So I think the 19, 20-year-old girl in me was doing everything to like stay close. So I ended up being with Beth and Valerie all the time, trying to be close to Keith. And I think him and I would do like a once a year, like, oh, we'll see where this yeah, we'll see where this goes. And obviously over time, it just, obviously I got over it. But then him and I stayed really best friends. I mean, until the day he died. I mean, he became so close with our family and just somebody
Always
who
at our house.
always at our house. I made friends with every girlfriend he had. And obviously that's how me and Katy are now best friends. I met Misty. Her and I are best friends. Christy Smith, Layla. There was there was a group. His mom would say that there was like, she told Misty that there was like or maybe it was you, like a handful of girls that like Keith really cared for. And out of all of the
The first time.
Out of the hundreds, thousands
that he cared about. And I know that it was like me, Misty, Katy, Christy, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I think so too.
He really cared for Christy.
I think he really cared for Layla too.
And so he did. And we all became friends because everybody loved Keith.
Yeah. I don't know Christy, but I am friends with Layla.
Yeah. And
we're all friends.
Yeah.
And Misty.
Yeah. And we would laugh. And this is my favorite story because there is a picture. And I posted it on Instagram at one point, and it is me and Christy and Layla and Misty. And I think it's more girls in the photo. And I remember Keith commenting, and he was like, awkward. And I was like, why is this awkward, Keith? Because you've been with every single girl in this picture, and we all love each other, and we still all love you. Like, not in love, but like we all loved Keith. And if you call Keith, I mean, Nicole and I laugh because I was just telling Katy, we went out a few weeks ago and ran into some friends, and we were like, these are the moments that kind of make you really sad, because it didn't matter if Keith, I swear, he could be in Oklahoma, and you're like, we're going out, and he'd show up, and you're like, oh, hey, he was at every birthday, at every holiday, at every,
he wouldn't miss anything.
No. And for us and our family, he got, I mean, way after a long time broke up, he just got really close with our family, and he became close with Patrick, and I think you guys loved him as another son,
right?
And Keith went out with my parents even whenever
by ourselves.
When I was there once. Nothing to do with me.
Kind of.
He would always come with us to our late night Denny's excursions, our breakfast. Just
moons over
Patrick
Miami.
moons over Miami, Patrick Guy, and Keith. That was like kind of it. And then he'd sleep on our couch.
Yeah, he did that often. And I think he had he never spoke bad about anybody. Never was mad at anybody. Got along with everybody. Big personality. Everybody did love him, which I think is why every girl was like, oh my gosh, it's just who he was. And he was very, very, very special. Worst day ever was that phone call, I think, for so many people. I was like, we have a lot of life like without this person. And I think you and I talked maybe, and I was like, I actually feel like the world changed. Like, our world is different now.
We talked about this on the drive to his
funeral.
Well, the thing is, we say this, I mean, you meet people, and sadly death is a part of life, and sometimes you lose people, but then sometimes you lose people, they're just made such an impact in your life, and there'll never be there's never going to be another one.
No.
So it just makes everything different, but I don't want to go quite that far yet.
Yeah.
I want to talk
Katy.
How did you meet him?
Actually, I wouldn't say that Keith got me into the scene, but I mean, if we're gonna go way back, I think I might have actually had Keith before you.
Oh, really?
When he passed away, I realized, because I went back to, where was my first apartment ever, and like kind of realized my age, and I was like, wow, I've been on and off kind of hooking up with Keith for 13 years. Like,
oh, really?
Both of us, between relationships. I'm sure I was one of many. I'm not. I'm sure there are a lot of people listening like, oh, me too. I knew Keith for a very long time. And kind of like Marcella said, I just don't think that you could have met Keith back then and not had a crush on him. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter what type you had. Keith was your type.
Yeah. Universal.
And so I was very infatuated with Keith for a number of years, and we would always maintain a friendship, and the hooking up was pretty rare. I would say like maybe every few years it would happen or something, not like consistently all the time. And then, when, I don't even know how old I was when we dated, but I know that I dated him about a year before I moved out of Dallas. So, somewhat recently, 4 years ago maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had just kind of I saw him at a Miley Cyrus concert, actually.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And I don't think I knew that either.
I love her.
Yeah, I was there with like 12 girlfriends, of course. So Keith Kong, found his way over. Hey, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah, one time. Perfect.
We were in the nosebleed, but he still found us.
Shocking.
But so I think we all went to like the Zouk nightclub or something after that. And I just remember I was like dancing around, and I had bought Jordans specifically for that 23 song by her.
Yeah.
It was very popular.
Gosh.
So I was like dancing around in my Jordans. And I just remember him texting me and being like, hey, I've always kind of had a thing for you. Like, can I take you to dinner? I'm like, whoa, we've never gone to dinner. Like,
taking big stuff.
We've done other things, but we've never gone to dinner. So, I mean, I was just immediately like, what time are you picking me up? Yes, you know? And he just had that effect on everybody. I mean, there's just nobody that didn't like Keith. You couldn't dislike Keith. And that's the thing. That's why all of us are friends now. Like, and he did have this, you know, this way about being honest with you when he was ready to break up, where it might hurt at first, but then could you really be mad at him? Because he actually just saved you like some heartbreak that was probably going to happen if he hadn't spoken up. And I think I always super respect him for that. I know we kind of laugh sometimes about like, oh, here it comes, the breakup line. Yeah. But I think it was true. And I think he knew that about himself. I think he was like, I don't want to put you through this and I don't want to do this to you. So I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm starting to have a wandering eye, and that means it's time for us to end. And I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, honestly,
right?
Yeah.
We could all take a few notes from his book.
Well, I remember the first time I met him, I had been out and I came home. He was at our house in Euless. You had just started dating him, and he was there, and very, very sweet, like very respectful. And then I remember when we first went out, and I don't know what we were doing, but we were at the American Airlines Center. And we were sitting, having a drink outside somewhere. And every girl knows this. He had a foot fetish.
Yes, that's right.
So
big time. He used to say that's why he broke up with me, because I had dancers.
So makes sense. We're out, and I'm her mom, and he's hanging with us, and he looks at my feet, and he goes, oh my God, you have the perfect feet. What is wrong with you? You made Marcella do point. You shouldn't have let her do that. You ruined her feet. He was so mad. He kept staring at my feet, going, they're perfect.
Oh my God.
You made Marcella's feet be ruined. I said, I didn't do it. She wanted to. And it was just stupid and crazy and funny. Patrick was sitting right there. So, yeah. And we have so many fun memories that they're like so crazy. Some of them I had to talk about because he would be with us most Easters. Like Easter was a big thing where he was with us. He would go to Easter brunch with us as a family, and then it was
when I met him.
Yes,
at one of y'all's Fogo de Chao.
Yeah. He's like, what the hell? Who's this
guy?
Because we always go to Fogo de Chao for Easter, sit there for like 4 or 5 hours, and then we come to the after party at my house, which we have lots of after parties or parties in general at my house. And
Keith was probably
but not the kind Marcella and I used to go to. When we say after parties, I think we should throw that in. These are very different after parties.
Yeah. A lot of fun though.
Yeah.
And
equally
fun. Yeah. Probably more
Maybe
fun.
even more so now. Yeah,
more
for
fun.
sure.
Keith loved coming over, and this particular one Easter, it was just, he was on like one of his most entertaining, I don't even know what to say. It was just, he was in, and I don't think I've ever laughed harder than that particular day. He came in, he picked up Jolie, my 14-year-old's Easter basket, and all the Easter eggs are in it. He crashes all the eggs on the floor, all the candy is all over the place. Then he goes and starts shoving Easter eggs. They were boiled Easter eggs with the shell still on it in his mouth. So he has like green. We
have a lot of pictures.
Yellow. Yeah. I mean, he's just all over the place. And then this other thing I know a lot of people will remember he did. What is it called? Kamikaze shots? Or what is it called? Where he does the...
he snorted the salt, the lime in the eye.
Yeah, what are those called? Oh, yeah.
What is that called?
I thought that was special. I thought that was like a show just for me. Wait, you guys have all seen that too? It's a
Katy,
suicide shot. Yeah, that's what it's called.
I was like, they would snort the salt.
Rock salt.
Take a shot of tequila and then lime in the eye. And him and Mark were like famous for it, like in public.
He would do it all the time. Everyone would ask him to do it. Every time we went out with Mike, one of Patrick's best friends, Mike would always ask him to do it.
They're so funny.
Then we have lots of videos of him doing that, and he just had so much energy. It was like always so much fun. And I remember, one of my best friend's husband, Lucas, who is from Austria too, would always make so much fun of his skinny jeans.
He had the best style. He was so ahead of his time. He really was.
Really.
He was a trendsetter.
Very. But his skinny jeans were like skinny. Like no one understood
Like
how
leggings.
he could even get in them. You're right.
It wasn't that hard.
Really, Katy?
I speak for myself.
Tell us more. No. Well, I have another amazing memory of one of our epic Sunday fun days that we have ever had, and I think every Sunday I wish to recreate that particular Sunday fun day. It like started out. This is the first time I met you, Katy.
Oh God.
And this was like It was actually
Wait, I thought the first time was after the fashion show.
Yeah, that you met Katy.
well, yeah, but
Oh yeah, that
Just
doesn't
a
count because
meeting.
I
I
wasn't
was-
really awake.
I was gonna kind of let Patrick tell it.
Okay.
Well, so I guess this would be the first time that you got to like hang out with
Talk.
Katy. Yeah.
Yes.
Have a
actually.
conversation.
Yeah.
Wait, I did meet her another time, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
But this was the most epic Sunday fun day. We started like at 11 a.m. at Mikosina, Shops of Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And you had come in town. We were waiting for you. And at the time, it was just you, Patrick,
I still
me.
lived here. You guys.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. He had
Oh,
just
wow.
dumped me. So I was pulling
Keith
a
had just
Marcella,
dumped
and
you?
I was trying to just like hang out with you guys so that I could still be around Keith.
Yeah, I think
Because
or-
you knew he'd show up wherever we were going to be.
For sure.
always. And I think you had stayed the night with me at my mom's house.
Yeah. And I
And-
remember you helping me clip my extensions
Yeah,
in
the
your mom's
halo.
bathroom the next
Yeah,
morning. Because I
yeah.
was like, I'm going to look
Oh,
hot
yeah.
for this. I'm going to be a hot mess
So I
for
met her
this
the
guy.
night before?
I don't know how that worked.
No, I met her the first time when she walked up to Mikosina. I
No.
feel like, no?
This is the same Sunday. I don't know what you were doing, but I know for
You were
sure.
already gone. You know what? I was the last one at your house. You guys all left.
Uh-huh.
I was in your bathroom getting ready, primping for a
Oh.
really long time. And I was like, I'll just have to meet you guys up there.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, but we had, I don't know if you and Patrick were doing something, but I was babysitting. We slept at your house. So
Okay.
however that goes. But anyways,
Right.
we ended up at Mikosina starting early.
At 11 a.m. And we moved from, then you came and
Mexican
then
sugar.
we went to Mexican Sugar, and Mike came, and
Jolie was there.
Jolie was there the whole entire time. We sat on the patio. We had so much fun. Then, of course, Patrick's texting Keith, going, "Get your ass up here. What are you doing?" Keith shows up. Now it's just all day long. I mean, we're having drinks. then
Katy
the
disappeared though at some point.
I did.
Yeah. Katy,
Not with him, but
no,
I did.
Katy left. We ended up at a pin
Pin
stack.
stack.
I tried to climb the rock wall in my heels.
You
I-
tried to. Well, what was the most
bowling in heels.
the most important part about that was that Keith, like, we were gonna go bowling. It was Mike
Because Keith loved bowling.
loved bowling,
Love bowling.
but he had already promised another group of friends that he was gonna go bowling with them, and we were like, no, you can't do that. But
such a hot
Keith,
commodity.
Yeah, right.
but Keith, being Keith, still went bowling with the people he had promised he would go bowling with, and then still came and met up with us because he had to
he
divide
kept his
himself with
word.
everybody.
Mhm.
Well, what we didn't know, and Patrick, Mike, none of us knew, was that he was like a professional bowler. So he walks in with his own bowling ball and everything.
my
Custom,
God.
custom bat,
Custom.
custom
I mean,
balls.
custom. He took this thing so serious, and
He
here's
was
Marcella.
so good. He was so
But here's Marcella with her heels. She
Uh-huh.
refused to put on bowling shoes, and he's like getting mad. And Mike is so drunk. Mike is like kind of like not bowling right. So now Keith is mad at everybody because no one's really bowling.
No one's taking the game seriously enough for him.
No.
We have
Not
been
at
out
all.
now like 13 hours. Everyone had way too much to drink. It was just so
Jolie
much
says
fun.
that's the day that she swore she'd never drink as an
Yeah.
like adult. It's that day.
It's funny. I almost asked her that last night.
Yeah.
So she said she'll never drink.
Because probably I was being ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, that's probably my fault. Don't worry.
It's probably all of us.
yeah. And we ended up at the house and
Was that the night that they did the race?
no.
No.
I was
That
about
a
to
whole nother,
ask
that was
A
a
whole
whole nother
another
night.
time that Keith and Mike decided to have a foot race outside, slipped
So-
in water.
This was like a major thing though, because was at our party again at our house, and then we have this constant stream of water like by the road to get to our house, and there's sometimes like, what is that called? Moss. Thank you. And Mike and Keith decided it'd be a really good idea to have a race outside.
Don't we always make that decision at 3 a.m.? It is also freezing.
Freezing. Those two, and it's like we're all filming and we're serious. This is a race, right? Because they're so into it. We're like, ready, set, go, blah, 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 blah.
Video. It's great.
And did they race a couple of times? Because something went wrong.
I thought
they
it was
raced a
few.
couple of times. Well, this last time, they both slipped on the
one.
moss.
Yeah, the moss. Yeah, the moss.
In the street.
But this is like the main street where cars are coming. We're screaming because they're both wiped out. I
think Mike broke his wrist.
Mike broke his hand. Keith had road rash all over himself. He did. His arms, his legs. So what does he do? He comes inside the house. Mike's sitting there going, oh, hurt my hands. And Keith goes in my pantry and takes out Saran Wrap and wraps his whole body in Saran Wrap to not get blood on my couch because he knew he was going to sleep on the couch again.
Sounds about right.
He's so charming.
Those are one of the many. I mean, we have pictures of Keith in a mermaid tail.
Yeah, and Jolie's
mermaid tail.
Mermaid tail for sure.
Just a really, I mean, I don't know. I think anyone, just a good human.
My last time seeing Keith was we had a rebranding party for our company. And we went to Gloria's with a lot of our models, and Gloria's turns into a Latin dance party after a certain hour. And Keith came, and I got in so much trouble with him that night because I wore the wrong shoes. Well, actually,
Keith had moves. He was a good dancer.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
too,
Great
but
dancer.
he was a great dresser, and he
got so mad at my mom.
he got so mad at me because he's like, I always thought you had fashion sense. What are you doing? How could you wear these shoes? He was furious with me all night long. He kept looking at me going, that is awful.
She's
like,
wearing
you
pink
know better.
shoes.
I wore pink shoes, but it was so cold. And I had already put on a dress, and I was like, I have got to wear tights, but I wore black tights and then pink shoes, and he was horrified. He's like, you cannot do that. What is wrong with you? Don't ever let me see that again. Like all night long, I was in trouble.
God,
And
I
we
miss
went,
him.
yeah, right. And then we went somewhere else, and then of course he went home with us again, slept on the couch again. And the only thing he did different this time, usually when he slept at the couch, he kind of left. Like I didn't see him. I get up late. That particular morning, though, he stayed, and he actually let me make him breakfast. And he had coffee and bagels at our bar. And then he sat at the couch for a while and chatted and talked. And that was literally the last time I ever saw him. And then I tried to get him to come to Easter, as I always did, a few months later, and he wouldn't respond to me. And I was like, you're not allowed to ignore me. I don't care who you're ignoring. You can't ignore me. And he did respond, but he said, I think I'm going to go to my family this Easter. But then his mom told me later that that was never a plan. So this was, I guess we have to fast forward a little bit. But two of his best friends passed away back to back. And after the first one passed away, he still stayed close to Patrick, and Patrick could still take him out to lunch and talk. And then when Devin passed away, though, that changed everything. I don't think he could get over it.
Well, and as much as we can say that are great, I think the reality is of the scene is that there's a lot of substance issues that we all have seen and have dealt with also. And I think for us, I think Keith was so shocking because to us, he was like invincible. You know, it was like he did a lot of stuff, and you know, and it's not a judgment. I mean, he doesn't change the way that he was as a person. You know, everyone makes some decisions that, you know, you can't judge for anything. But I think that it just, like when Davin passed away, it just put him in a really dark place. And I wasn't seeing him come out of that anymore. Kind of just took a really bad turn. And I think our bodies can only handle so much, like partying, really. And I don't know. It's really sad.
It is.
By the way, can we just start talking like this whenever I come in town, like at your house?
On the mic?
Yeah.
I actually am super upset that we didn't have cameras or microphones or spider in my living room last night.
Yeah, but we couldn't.
There would have been a lot of editing for Spider.
Yeah.
This is Patrick.
Oh.
Hi! You're here already.
I was like, who is this?
How are you?
What's all the excitement about?
Well, I wanted to see if you could possibly talk, without doing your dance. If you could talk
Can you
about,
hear me right now?
I can hear you. Could you tell us like how you met Keith and how close you were to Keith before we talk about Katy's situation? Like, just talk about Keith a little bit.
Well, I just met Keith through Marcella, and we're just kind of fast friends. I didn't see him a whole lot in the very beginning. He was still young and out crazy, running the streets a lot, which I was married and wasn't doing that. So as he got older, we got closer, and, he started kind of coming around more often. But his and my relationship was more like I was always just trying to keep him out of trouble and make sure he was on the right path.
Because you saw so much potential in him, right?
Oh, yeah, he was one of a kind. I mean, the guy had everything going for himself. He could do anything he wanted to do, and everybody loved him. So I always try to keep him on the path of staying focused and staying out of trouble, and both of them was a full-time job.
Another child.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like my son. He was like another one of my sons. I had to just try to keep him on the right path, and he loved going off the path.
You rebel.
More adventure.
But he always found his way home to you guys. I have to say,
Yeah.
even before I, seriously dated him, before Marcella and I were friends, he would always, like, at one point was like, does he live there? Like, I think he really, obviously he loved his own family very much too. But I think that, I think as an adult, sometimes you kind of pick the family you surround yourself with. And I think that was 100%. It was not hard to see that.
Yeah.
You guys were Keith's family too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I came downstairs many mornings, and he was on my couch.
That's true. Remember that time we picked him up? Like, I don't even know what happened. We were out, you and I were out, and all of a sudden you go, hey, we're going to leave because we have to get Keith. He has no key, right? Is that what happened? To his apartment one time? He couldn't find his key?
Oh,
Yeah, up there when he lived over by, up in Frisco by that baseball field.
Right.
The Amley.
Yeah.
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 And we went and picked him up.
Yeah,
And did we take him
brought
to...
him home.
Brought him home.
No.
I think we went to eat first, and then we brought him home.
Always ate first.
He was always down for a meal, no matter what was
Yeah.
going
Skinny ass.
on.
Yeah. Like Gino.
He really had to order pizza.
can
Now,
eat anything.
we had this fashion show at
Oh, God.
Plush, right?
Plush, yes.
Plush one night.
Katy and Keith were together.
Mhm.
It was our first public appearance.
Oh, was it?
It was.
I have those
We
pictures.
were letting people know.
Yeah.
So they were there together, and then you tell us how we ended up at Mike's apartment, which was this amazing place. And what was it called? This building is like a name in Uptown.
That was not
I
Yeah,
can't
it's a
remember.
number. I can't remember
Yeah,
the
I
number.
can't remember either.
Well, we were trying to get Keith to come sell for us in
Right?
the dent business. We were trying to get him to come work for us, and we went back to Mike's apartment afterwards, and he parked downstairs and left Katy in the car.
Why did he leave
And
Katy in the
we were-
car?
Well, she was had a little
passed
bit too
out.
much to drink. Passed out in the car.
Which means I didn't do anything illegal.
Exactly.
So if we're going to look at the silver lining here.
Just a little nap.
I fell
So
asleep,
we were
okay?
upstairs still partying. We were still upstairs partying, and then Katy actually called him and said, "Hey, are you trying to come into the truck?" And Keith's like, "No, I'm upstairs in Mike's apartment." And she's like, "Well, someone's trying to get into the truck." So we all ran. Mike stayed
creepy.
upstairs, so me and Keith
Mhm.
ran downstairs. And whoever was down there had already been gone. So then
Ew.
Keith's like, "Well, I can't leave her in the car anymore." So he threw her over his shoulder and carried her upstairs like a sack of potatoes.
What?
And
He
put her
had
on,
more
and
strength
put
than
her
he
on
looked
Mike's
like.
car. Oh, we were all having way too much to drink that night. So he throws Katy on the couch and says, Now be cool. I'm in a job interview.
Be
And then he
cool.
proceeds to sit on her head. And I'm like, Katy, she can't breathe. You can't sit on her. And he's
Hey,
just
maybe
like,
we
"Oh,
were
she'll be
into
fine."
that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was my introduction to Katy. And it actually took me a while to figure out, because I had met Katy again many more times, but it took me a while to realize and put two and two together that night she was the one that he brought upstairs.
Yeah.
Because I didn't put that
He
together
liked
at
blonde,
first.
so fair enough.
Yeah, so it took me a second to realize that was Katy.
Yeah.
Just like, dang. I wish.
Yeah.
he hadn't
Well, I
put that.
remember it's so funny because I remember waking up and the sunroof was open. He had like a Hummer truck
Yeah.
and the sunroof was open.
Right.
And so I could hear these people trying to break into the car. And I thought it was
God.
It's really scary,
Keith
actually.
fumbling the keys. And I could hear it so clearly because it was basically like a window was open. But thank God it was above my head.
Yeah.
And those windows were so tinted. Nobody knew I was in there. So they basically just, I think, tried to break in until they like figured out they weren't going to be able to without maybe
yeah.
breaking something. And I don't know. Patrick had a good point because we talked about this. He's like, well, if the sunroof was open, maybe they heard you call him. I'm like, oh, yeah, that could have been it too.
Oh, that's
But I
true.
like to say that I thwarted them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Katy.
Oh, that's the Black Widow. We gotta leave.
We don't want in this car anymore.
So, now you and him, like you would go to lunch a lot, but then after Devin died, he didn't even respond to you anymore, right?
I don't remember if who was was Devin the last one that passed away? Who
Yeah.
was the
Yes.
who was the one that passed away in his own house?
Chris
That was Chris.
That was the first
I went to
one.
lunch with him
with Keith.
when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
That's
went
who
and picked him
Nugget
up and
was
made him
from.
go to lunch.
Yeah.
Then we talked for a while at lunch by his apartment, and then when Devin died, he never answered my calls anymore, but he did reply to my text a couple times. But we never did get back together after that because he just kind of went into his own world.
Yeah. Remember the last
So I
time we
never
went
really
out
saw
with
again
him?
after that.
Remember the last time we went out with him at Gloria's? And
Yes.
didn't you then have to bring him back and try to find his car?
Yeah, we drove around. Gloria's is a large parking lot with about 50 restaurants in this huge parking lot. And he kept saying, hey, my car's over here. And he's got his hand hanging out the window, hitting the panic alarm on his key fob. And
Oh my
like
God.
nothing's going off. So we drove the parking lot for like 40 minutes, pushing that panic button. And his car was literally a mile away from where he thought it was.
Of course.
I'm like, dude, what the hell? Where'd you put? He's like, I'm telling you, I parked it right here. And obviously he didn't. So we
Yeah.
finally found it. It took about 40 minutes. And I was late for a meeting. I'm like, dude, I got to go. I'm about to have to drop you off.
Run around. Yeah.
Yeah, so he finally found it. But yeah, that was Keith. That's how he was.
Yeah.
Special
That's pretty
human.
special, right?
Very.
Yeah. And
Still a shocker to me every day his name comes up that we won't be at Denny's anymore. So
Aw.
Yeah. And I think for the people that don't know Patrick and haven't met Patrick and obviously have not heard him on this podcast,
Yeah.
just so you guys know, to hear Patrick saying these sweet things about Keith, it takes time. Like, it takes time for him to be, I think, not vulnerable, but
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah, you need a sledgehammer to crack
Like-
that shell.
Yeah, Patrick.
But, I mean, I think that was some true love
Yeah.
between you guys. I think,
yeah.
as I said earlier, I think that Keith was very, very, very much a part of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sweetheart.
he still is and always
Yes.
will be.
I
Aw.
know, of course.
Thank
course.
you. We love you.
All right. Love you. I'll talk to you later.
Fun.
Bye, Patrick.
Always. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dad.
Aw.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about the funeral. Like, I guess, Marcella, maybe you can talk when you got that phone call first.
Yeah, I think that we had been hearing, and I know Katy knew some people too that had been hearing that things just were not very good, like kind of in the last month. Some red flags, I think. And I woke up and Nicole texted me or called me. I can't even remember now. She called me at 8 a.m. and she was like, "Are you sitting down?" And I was like, "Oh my God, no." Because you have to understand, Nicole also had lost her friend Crystal and had found her in December. Chris died in December. Davin died. I can't remember exactly, March or April. And then, you know, we're kind of hearing like a lot of stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like what could it be? And she was like, they found Keith. And I don't even remember. I think I called Katy, but obviously being in California, she's 2 hours behind, and I think I called her probably 100 times. And I think I texted you, and I called Mark.
No, you called me. No, you texted me.
I think I texted you.
Because I thought you were kidding.
Right, because I was kind of mad. Had gotten frustrated with Keith about something that was said. And so I think, but what was really hard for me personally was that I think the night before you had cooked something, and I snapped it. And Keith texted me, or had snapped me back that day before, and I took forever to respond. So I think there's part of me, and I like took a screenshot of the snap because I was like, man, it was literally like only a few hours. So you know, your brain kind of goes crazy.
Yeah, everybody likes my cooking.
Yeah, he was like, oh my, like really excited about it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, you know, I mean, that's positive, I guess, like being like that. He was even just joking around, being that last night, because it had to be, because it was a Tuesday, or, you know, the day I got a phone call Wednesday morning. So it was not far off. And I think I texted you and I said, Keith's dead. And I think
thought she was kidding.
Yeah, I think you thought I meant like he's dead, like I'm gonna kill him.
Like she's
Yeah,
mad at him.
Yeah, like mad. And so I think I called Misty as well, and I'm not sure who else. And I actually crashed my car on accident because I was so just I mean, I just thought it was crazy.
I'm like,
to me.
okay, I'm coming to get you. But she gets in her car. Like, we cross paths on the road because she wants to go to Misty's house.
Yeah.
And crashes her car in the meantime.
Yeah. I just think
I'm
you're like in a distraught place. I can only come from like, you know, when I with my dad and stuff, you're just like not in your right mindset. I think your brain is just doing things that are not normal. And I honestly don't remember much after that. I don't know. And you can tell how your reaction was to like
who called you? Like, how did
Marcella.
But you were not answering.
I was
asleep.
asleep.
Right.
Yeah, I was asleep.
So then
so then she started calling my boyfriend, and so he was leaving for work, and he woke me up and was like, Marcella called me 3 times and says, please have Katy call me 911 ASAP. And I just looked at him and I took the phone and I said, it's Keith. And he said, he got so mad at me. He goes, why would you say something like that? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. I was like, I just have a bad feeling. I have a really bad feeling because I know he had lost people that were so close to him so soon. And I just had this really bad feeling. And then I called her back, and I mean, she couldn't even talk. Like it was basically just, she answered the phone, I think, for the point of answering it, but she was just sobbing. And so I actually said, like, is it Keith? And she said, yes, it's Keith. But, you know, to a point that Marcella made earlier, and I don't want to upset or offend anybody that loves Keith and is listening to this, because I think that it's something that in his loss, I don't think any of us really want to look back and say, oh, I think maybe he was struggling. Like, I think it's a lot easier to be like, no, he wasn't struggling. Like, there's nobody, and nobody could have prevented whatever it is that happened. Like, to this day, none of us have full closure on what happened, how he passed away. Like, I think all we really know is that, you know, he was found in his home. And I think that's the only thing we can really say factually.
He wanted my food the night before.
Yeah, and that too. But yeah, I had, you know, I didn't live in San Diego anymore, but I think he dated one person after myself, but we were friends and we stayed in touch because that's what Keith did. Like, he was, I think if he loved you at one point, he kind of always loved you. And like, whether or not, no matter how it ended, whatever happened, he would always be there for you. Like,
Always.
to this
Good
day,
heart.
I feel like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like, if something were wrong or sad, I could call Keith. We were friends, 3 days after we broke up. Like, okay, cool. Like, well, you're Keith. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I had people reach out to me in San Diego that basically said, like, hey, like, here's the weird thing. Like, no one's seeing him out anymore. And he's such a social butterfly. Like, he knows everybody. And it was uncommon to not be seeing him out. And I know that when I spoke to one of his best friends, Paulo was upset because he said people are saying that Keith was depressed and he wasn't depressed. He was fine.
Right, because they work together. They had a business together, actually. Yeah.
So I feel it's important to say that because I don't want that part of the story to be left out. So I think that we all saw different things from Keith. And I think that maybe because Paulo saw him every day, maybe he was like, no, dude, you guys are all totally wrong. That's not what was happening. Right.
So
but on the
Allie,
outside, to other people, I think, because like we talked about, like you could know Keith for 2 minutes and think he was your best friend. You know, he was so good at that, and not in a manipulative way. It was extremely genuine.
Yeah.
So I think that when a lot of people that were acquaintances weren't seeing him out anymore, it was a collective kind of thing. Like, that's weird. Like, no one's seen Keith out in a while. So I had reached out a few times, and I was actually had a layover in Dallas a month before he passed away, and I had reached out and just been like, hey, you're not responding to my stuff. I thought we were cool. I'm trying to not take it personal or anything, but I'm concerned. I'm hearing people say that you're not returning their text messages either, and that they're not seeing you out. And hey, if you're just throwing yourself into your business, I'm so happy for you. Great. It seems like that's going really well, but can you just like let me know that like that's all that it is? And he actually did respond, and it was the last time we spoke. And I wouldn't say that he sounded depressed. I think he was probably tired because we spoke towards the end of the day. And he had a great work ethic, which is, I'm sure, one of the many reasons that Patrick loved him so much and saw that
wanted
potential.
him so bad. Yeah.
I mean, he just had so much to offer this world.
Yeah.
And the conversation wasn't super long, but I'm just like, hey, are you okay? And I'm fine. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you? I haven't even talked to you since Davin passed away. I've only talked to you since, Chris, the other friend, passed away. And it was very unlike Keith to ever be agitated or angry or respond in that manner. And I felt like he snapped at me a little bit and was just like, well, how the fuck do you think I feel? I'm so sick of people asking me that. What do you guys want to hear from me? Yeah, that I'm devastated that 2 of my friends just died. Like, what do you want? And I think it was very real. So I don't want to. Yeah. None of us will ever really know what Keith was feeling, so it's not fair to portray him in a certain way like that.
But
and I'm not trying to. Yeah.
I think we're just speaking of our own experiences.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just. I think I'm like so sensitive to it. I'm like, I just don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to say something was wrong that no one recognized. But it was. I will say that last conversation with him was just not. It wasn't like any of the other conversations that we had had.
Yeah.
I could tell that he was deeply affected by what had happened.
Yeah.
And he just,
I'm so glad he went on this trip with his family, with his mom.
Yeah,
he actually went on a beach. I think it was beach, right? Beach vacation with his whole family, which he didn't really usually do. And I think that they have been so grateful that they have those times, the pictures, the memories when he was there. And I think it was really good for him too, because got him away from all that sadness for a little bit.
Wait, can I just tell you guys how much Keith's mom loved Marcella? Okay. The first time he took me home, one of the first things she said to me, I don't remember what I said. I said something, and I don't know how you came up, but he was
we were
like,
friends already, I'm sure.
Yeah, you and I were friends already. So like I might have said something about you.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came up, but she was just like, I mean, she just grabbed my shoulders and looked at me and was like, I loved Marcella. and she was like, and he just made her cry so hard.
Dick. Just kidding.
But
she loves Misty too.
She Misty, loved Misty too. Yeah. I think
she is the sweetest lady ever.
She's very
so kind.
Keith has
so
a great
sweet
family. His dad's awesome too.
His dad is too.
His dad is awesome.
I didn't get to know him as well, but his mom and I just
And we
connected.
see, his brother and
Yeah.
his wife, and kind of, I think after so many years, like Keith was a part of all of our lives for a really long time, like longer than people like even like go to school. I mean, we just were like family friends, and so it's very impactful. Him passing away has impacted everyone. I mean, there's still people writing on his Facebook, and I know that a lot of people miss him. I know Misty, we talk about all the time. Beth, me and you,
we talk about him.
We talk about
very
him
regularly.
Yeah, when
We
you
talk
go out,
about him every time, like even on Sunday at the Statler,
Mhm.
we're like,
he would have been
Keith
there
would
for
be
sure.
here. I mean,
We talk. Yes, every time we do something, we're like, he would have been here.
Yeah.
Like,
mhm.
And I think he is, and I think,
I
it's
agree.
just, you get, or I don't know, everyone's body is just different, and you never know. And that's why we had kind of talked earlier about like just being careful and not judging anyone by if they party, what if you drink, if you do whatever. Like, you just have to be really careful, because our bodies sometimes
Can handle it.
get tired, and
Mhm.
you don't know. We don't know when nobody knows ever, but just to be kind of conscious and aware of what you're doing, and
Right.
if things are getting tough, like just to try to not mask the problems with anything else. It just can be dangerous, and because we just miss him, and I want everyone to stay all the time in my life.
yeah.
So
I wanted to talk a little bit about his funeral. I want to talk about the funny thing first, because there was something funny for me. Like, I don't know how many people can say they had that many beautiful girls at their funeral.
And we talked about this before the funeral.
Uh-huh.
Marcella and I were like, can you imagine the lineup? There should be a modeling agency there looking to scout
Oh my
people.
gosh.
He dated every beautiful girl in Dallas, and I'm not trying to say that, like, I'm not saying that you and I are.
no,
He had hotter girlfriends than us, for sure, but he had a type.
yeah,
He had a type.
yeah.
So that was,
And it was true. There were
it
So
was
many
pretty
beautiful-
unbelievable.
the most
Yeah.
beautiful women in Dallas were all gathered crying that day.
Yeah.
And the thing that was super hard, because, I'm from Europe, and funerals are different at home. Like, we don't even understand the concept of an open casket at all. Like, that never happens. And so when I first moved here, I remember we had to go to a funeral from a distant relative or something, and I walked in and I almost fainted. I'd never seen something like that before in my life. So now, every time there's a funeral, I make sure I ask the question, like, because I have to prepare my brain for it. Like,
Yeah.
it is very, very, very
That's how I am.
difficult.
I can't.
Like, and I know it's difficult
Yeah.
for a lot of people. I just never even knew this was something that happens. So I asked the question, and I said, so at Keith's funeral, is it going to be a closed casket? And I was told yes, that it was a closed casket. No, don't worry about it. And I still have Jolie, who's 14. She was close to Keith too. I mean, he was part of our family, and Gino and you girls, and we all talked about it. It was going to be a closed casket. And you girls went and got everything ready for Keith's after party. What do you want to call it?
Sure. Yeah.
Which we should definitely touch on here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And you set up pictures and whatnot, and Patrick and I and Jolie and Gino got there, and we walked into this church, and I remember, like, there was glass, and I looked over and just like, okay. And Patrick stops, and I go, why are you stopping here? And he goes, well, that's where we have to go. And I go, no, we don't. And he goes, yes, we do. And I go, no, we don't. There's an open casket. We don't have to come here. And he goes, well, that's Keith. I can see him. And I was like, no. I started like freaking out. I see Jolie and Gino like sobbing, freaking out. I go up to Keith's best friend and I go, there isn't supposed to be an open casket. And he just looked at me very, very strange. And he was like, yep. And I was like, okay. And I think that was so shocking. And that was the most difficult part because I don't think he was prepared to have an open casket on top of it. So
I don't think
this was a decision that was made last minute. And his best friend told me that this was meant to be as a shock value to everyone, which
He told you
yes,
where?
there.
Oh.
He wanted it to be a lesson.
Oh.
It sounds like something sick he would say.
So
And I think we're using the term best friend.
Yeah.
Maybe that's who he thought was his best friend, but I think there have been a lot of things that have happened since that would prove otherwise.
That was hard for Jolie and Gino also.
that's super hard. I mean, there were
Yeah.
more children there.
Traumatizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
After
there was
that, no.
his nephews were there, and
Mhm.
I mean, that is very, very difficult. I mean, when you go through something like that as a parent, you want to at least prepare your children. So then when you can't, it is a shock. And Jolie tells me often that she never gets that out of her head.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us do really, but
It was really hard.
Yeah.
And, I have an issue with death anyway, so it's just very traumatizing. So,
Yeah.
and Jolie says really sweet stuff sometimes, and it's just very sad because she's like, I hope he wasn't alone, and you hope that they're not scared, and I don't know, you just hope so many different things. And I
Yeah.
think in that moment, that all becomes really real. And, it was really, really hard. I mean, there was a lot of people, a lot of tears, a lot of people we hadn't seen in a long time, like Dallas people.
It's a very large.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that
There are
showed
a lot
up.
of people. Yeah.
But something.
what did you want to say about the after party?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say that after
Yeah.
this comment. But I do remember Marcella and I were in the car together on the way there, and you had texted her, and when you realized that it was open casket, and it was like just the air got sucked out of the room for us. Like we were like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think we both. I remember, I think her hands were shaking when she was reading your text message because I
Yeah.
was sitting behind her in the car,
Yeah.
and I remember
I
being
was
like, "What's
I've got
wrong?"
to warn
Yeah.
the
Like, I
girls.
mean, and thank you because
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else got a warning.
No.
So,
no.
and we still weren't even prepared for
Mhm.
that. But just to reiterate how amazing he was, he just had these qualities that you just don't find in other people, and it's why everyone loved him and still wanted him around, and just he was just so wonderful. But we were all kind of laughing because it was all ex-girlfriends that
Yeah.
we printed out photos, we got balloons, and we have to give credit where credit's due. I think Nicole
yeah.
really worked
They did
the hardest on
yeah.
getting a venue. I mean, this was something that was put together extremely quickly.
Yeah.
It is hands down the best. Not that any funeral is good,
No.
but the best one as far as how many people came together to
So
show
many town
love.
square that was
Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
It couldn't fit in the room.
I mean, we released hundreds and hundreds of balloons,
Balloons, yeah.
and it was strange because most funerals, there was some crying, there were some tears, but it's very rare that not only do your girlfriends throw your funeral, your ex-girlfriends throw your funeral, you're all together,
Yeah.
all crying over how much you miss him. There's
Yeah.
no cat fighting. It's all so genuine. And, he was just so loved. And people were happy to see each other and I think share the love that they had for Keith. And I don't think it's always like that. I think sometimes it's a lot of separated groups that
Right.
didn't know each other that are all showing up to pay respect.
Animosity.
But, in this case, it was like everyone that showed up, everyone was so happy to see other people show up and be like, oh my gosh, like we're all here because we loved him so much.
And you just brought a lot of people together. That's the biggest thing, I think.
right.
And
And
that
then
power.
there were
Yeah.
balloons you could write on, and I wrote on mine that I would always pay attention what shoes I wore.
Oh. I should have said I will
So-
always get pedicures.
Yeah. I can't fix my feet. Sorry.
I loved Mike's. What did his
Yeah, I forgot what Mike's
the
balloon.
next foot race?
Yeah,
or something.
something.
Oh yeah, because
You
of the
guys,
race.
I didn't realize people wrote on the balloons.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
write on them.
There was like somebody bought the balloons that you could write in chalk. So some people wrote little notes on there. And I think it was special for his family. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to see someone so loved. And yeah, but we love Keith and forever. And
Yeah, and Whitley, I remember when she met him first. I mean, she had
Oh my
never met
God.
Keith before. And what do you think he did? Sees this beautiful blonde, starts flirting
Did
with
we know it
her.
was Gino's girlfriend?
No, starts flirting
We
with
would
her.
like fight the whole time. It was so much fun. It was like having one of my brothers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, we would just bicker.
Right.
And then Gina would just be like, oh, good luck. Like,
I know. Keith, I feel like after you broke up with Keith, it was like, this is going to sound really weird, especially since I don't have siblings, but he was like your hot brother. Like you weren't trying to like re-hook up with him really or anything. You were just like.
gotta keep the connection going.
Yeah, but it was just like, you just knew he was not going to ever judge you for anything. You could tell him anything. And he, like she said earlier, he never talked bad about people.
Yeah.
I talked bad about someone that he knew, and I won't say names, but I talked badly about someone who knew one time, and he jumped my ass for it. And he was just like, why on earth would you say something like that?
Yeah, he didn't like that at all.
No. He didn't tolerate it. He didn't. He got along with everyone.
He's so
I love
great.
that.
Well,
Miss
was,
him forever.
Yeah. That is not much of a lesson, except that we miss him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And I need to find my old computers. I have so many videos on when that flip camera was cool.
Oh, I have one of
It's in the
those too.
garage. And I just I have to find them because they're really funny. There's lots of videos of my dad and Keith on there that I'm gonna go find.
I need to find the picture of him and Jolie's mermaid tail.
I have
to-
it. I have it on my Snapchat.
I've seen it. I don't
Yeah.
have it, but I've seen it.
You
I have
you
the videos
have
of
it?
him on my Snapchat.
Oh, well, there you go. We gotta find it. So we'll find it.
That's why I thought I didn't know y'all were looking for it. I was like, yeah, I have it.
Bradley, I went to Apple.
You
I
guys
went
should
to
make like
everywhere. I can't even tell you what trouble I went through to find these pictures.
You guys should make
You
like a
have
flip show, like a slide
Yeah.
show. The anniversary is
Oh
coming
my
up. you know?
goodness,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's on my Snapchat.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is funny.
Yeah.
At the non-party.
Yeah. The non-party.
Yeah. Well, these were kind of tough subjects the last two shows, but next time when you come, we're gonna talk about all funny things.
No, let's just make fun of people next time.
Yeah, the whole time.
But this show was supposed to be in memory of Keith, and we hope that his family knows how much he's loved and will never be forgotten by us ever and
Never.
He is talked about all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part. And we love him and everyone.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for listening.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.